This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR, presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation, Larry Burns.
Thanks, Mark, and hello, everyone, and welcome to another Caring for Kids, where we discuss a variety of issues concerning the health and wellness of children locally, regionally, and nationally. And joining us tonight will be Janel, Coppens, and Bill Harrington. Janel is the principal and head of school at Austin Catholic High School. Never thought I'd say that again. While Bill Harrington is the president of Genesis Marketing and Communications and a board member on the board of directors at Austin Catholic High School. After that, we're going to hear from Dr. Justin Klein. He's the director of the Burn Center at the Children's Hospital of Michigan. And lastly, but certainly not least, Kevin Brown, director of community relations and the Detroit Red Wings Foundation, will be joining us to talk about our wonderful partnership. And it's all coming up next on Caring for Kids, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everyone. Larry Burns here for Caring for Kids. And in the studio with me tonight is Janel Coppens, and she is the principal and head of school, I like that title, at Austin Catholic High School in Macomb, Michigan. Prior to joining the Austin Catholic team, Janel spent over 6 years working with youth in the local juvenile detention center. I did not meet her there. Before entering the education field, Janel worked in public relations. She holds a master's in educational leadership from Mary Grove College, which I once served on as a board member, and a bachelor's from St. Mary's College, right next to Notre Dame in Notre Dame, Indiana, and Saginaw Valley State University. Bill Harrington is president of Genesis Marketing and Communications, a company that specializes in new product creation, execution, and sales, who I've known for many, many years, and a very creative person indeed. He spent nearly 20 years in the automotive industry at General Motors and American Motors Jeep in domestic and international positions, and was vice president of sales and marketing for the startup Vixen Motor Company before starting Genesis Marketing. Bill also serves as an officer and marketing director for Detroit Sports Media, formerly known as the Detroit Sports Broadcasters Association, and he sits on the board of directors at Austin Catholic High School and serves on the leadership team at St. Clair of Montefelco Catholic Church. I am not only a graduate of St. Clair of Montefelco, but I'm also a graduate of Austin Catholic Prep. So I feel right at home. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Good to be here, Larry.
It's great to see you, Bill. You know, we go back a long way and look forward to catching up. But first, let's start with Janel. It's always alarming when you meet a principal of a high school and they look like they could be the senior in the high school. So,
Thanks.
So welcome to Caring for Kids. So share with our listeners about your role in this very cool title, is head of school.
Head of school encompasses not only principal, but what a lot of private schools have is the president model.
Right.
Where they're in charge of the fundraising and the marketing and the overall business aspect of the school, relationship with the board of directors, but also principal, which is your educational, the daily grind, and your culture and charism of the building.
So it's a bit more integrated.
Correct.
Than maybe when I went to high school, where you had a principal, you had a dean of men,
Yep.
everybody sort of siloed in their role. And
kind of the headmaster model.
I like it. I like it a lot. And so, and then talk a little bit about, either you, Bill, or Janel, about the what I'll say, the sort of the reconstruction of Austin Catholic High School today versus its former identity as Austin Catholic Prep, which closed in 1978.
Closed in 78.
I graduated in 1974.
I graduated in 1963.
My brother graduated in 1962. And so my lifelong friends that I went to Central Michigan with are Austin guys. Mm-hmm. And so I have fond memories of Austin Catholic Prep. I once interviewed, when I was in the 5th grade, Dave DeBuscher in his house. He lived on Yorkshire in a little bungalow. Just think of that, an NBA star living in a small little bungalow.
Correct.
On Yorkshire. But he was awesome. So tell us how this all sort of came about.
The project started about 20-some years ago in Macomb County when the building boom was happening. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of Catholics moving out into that area. And they decided that there was a need They did a study for a Catholic high school in northern Macomb County, and we're talking, north.
What Mile Road?
We're on 23 now.
23.
We started the project at 26 Mile Road.
Okay.
In that vicinity, there are about 5 Catholic churches within maybe 5 to 10 miles of just the closest to us. So 20 years ago, they started the project. It was called the Stace Group, and we weren't associated with the Augustinians at that time. And they did a large capital campaign. We all know the economy kind of went down in the late 90s.
Right.
So after that, we opened in a rented public school facility on 26 Mile Road with 9 students in 2011. By that time, they had opened it up to who was going to lead the school, who was going to give it the charism, the culture, the educational model, and they looked to the Augustinians. Father David Brecht, a 1956 graduate.
Of
Austin.
Really?
Yep. He was in the first graduating class.
Yeah. Wow.
He was a leader in the Augustinian order. He had been the provincial, and he had just retired and was back in the Michigan area. And they sought him out to start the school and lead the school. And now here we are 7 years later, making great progress. I'm sure Bill will share on our relationship with the Detroit Austin Prep alumni. While we're not necessarily the same exact school, because obviously we're co-ed, we're not in Detroit, we have a different nickname.
You're not the Friars.
No, but we are still a place that we share.
You're still Augustinian.
We're still Augustinian, and our values are so similar.
Right.
And our focus on the students in terms of the discipline and focus on community and turning out of the generation like you all had.
Let me ask you a question before we ask Bill a little bit about connecting with the old Austin. Just in ballpark figures, how many of the students are Catholic versus not Catholic?
We are about 85 to 90% Catholic.
Okay. So that's pretty high compared to a lot of other Catholic boys' schools. Certainly Loyola, which we have a relationship with, is mostly not Catholic. U of D High, I assume, is mostly Catholic, but they have a lot of non-Catholics. So I just was curious on that.
Yeah.
And part of that is the demographics of Macomb County, I would think.
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Bill Harrington, class of 63. And so tell us, there's a lot of people out there listening to this show that remember Austin either because they went there or their dad did or their grandfather did. And so tell us how you are connecting the Friars with the Crusaders.
With the Crusaders. And I remember back in 2004 or 5, one of my classmates, Gary Evans, called me, and he was on the original team to bring about Austin again. And he called me up and said, Harrington, come on, get involved. And I didn't know what I was getting into. Austin had been closed. It closed in 78. It's been closed 40 years. And so I went to a meeting, and I said, I can do this. And so I got involved in helping to start Austin Catholic Academy at that point, which we changed over the name to Austin Catholic High School.
Right.
And, then my role is basically to engage the alumni, get them involved. So here we go. We got a school that's been closed 40 years.
40 years.
And now we're going to engage the alumni. And, it's a challenge. They never thought it was going to come back. And, in fact, they were talking about it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen.
Right, right. Are you successful in connecting with folks from...
what we've done is we've had a campaign, and, we've had 22 classes that went to Austin. And now it's bringing them back. We've got class captains starting to communicate for the last probably year or so about what we're doing out at Austin, bringing them out to the school to show them what the school looks like. And when you walk into the school, there's a wow factor. When we bought this place, all you needed was a key and a vacuum cleaner.
All right, so it was all set up.
It was all set up.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and everybody is impressed. And
good.
Right now we have all the composites from all the classes hanging on the walls.
Yeah, you sent me mine, and
your picture from 1974.
A little different than what I look like now.
You did. The kids get quite a kick out of that, seeing the hair.
Right, exactly, yes.
Or in your ties.
They're the ties.
Yeah.
Well, truth be known, I wore the same sport coat for 4 years at Austin, and I'm pretty sure I had the same tie. It was a royal blue polyester. It was very nice.
You'd fit in with our uniform today.
Yes, so it was very good. So let's talk. We're talking with Bill Harrington, board member at Austin, and head of school, Janel Coppens. And let's talk a little bit about the school. And how many students do you have now about?
We're at 84 this year.
Okay.
This is our 4th graduating class. So there's 22 in that graduating class. Fair mixture between male and female. as we said already, Catholic, non-Catholic, and then coming from private and public and
grade
some
schools.
homeschools.
Yeah. So, I spent 27 years in higher ed, and I was in charge of enrollment at two places, Akron and the University of Toledo. So I have to ask you, of the graduating classes, how percentage roughly, how many go on to either community college or universities?
100%.
100.
So of our 32 graduates, there's been 100%.
Great. Awesome. And are they going everywhere?
They're all over. We found we are attracting a lot of students and families that they still want a Catholic education for their child, but they may not be heading in the college route. So we do offer a relationship with our local public school for a career tech center.
Great.
So they
That's
go and
awesome.
take automotive and construction, and they're looking into the art fields. We have quite a few young adults either at the Center for Creative Studies or places that, digital marketing and digital media.
I commend you for that, because in my era, I think Bill would agree, I went to Eastern Michigan for a year, then to Central Michigan and graduated. But if you went to a community college, right, you were sort of frowned upon, like but now that community college or tech school is such a great positive.
It is.
And to make kids feel like I'm making the right choice and not making a choice for someone else, be it a parent or somebody else.
We found
great.
90% of our staff, and most of us all hold master's degrees or higher, education was our second field.
Right.
Why? Why did we end up where we were passionate after we already had a bachelor's or two bachelors, myself included? So are we pushing the kids too fast to jump into 4-year when they don't even know what they want to be?
Right.
They're 18 years old.
Yeah.
They're still kids. So we're not frowning on the community college, especially Macomb community has.
Oh, it's a great place.
It is.
And my friend Paul W. Smith, who's so proud to be a U of M grad, and he also is proud to spend 2 years at Monroe Community College, which allowed him to go to U of M. So I commend you for that, and if I can help, please let me know.
Thank you.
And before I ask Bill about his tenure a little bit at Children's Hospital, how can people find out more about Austin?
We have our website. We're also on all the social media. Austin Catholic Academy, I think, is still the website. We're working on getting that changed.
Twitter handle?
There's a Twitter handle. I think it's at Crusaders.
Okay, I'll start following it.
Austin Catholic.
As long as you guys follow me.
We can follow
That's a
you.
Deal.
That's great.
Awesome. So I look forward to visiting and anything I can do to help. And you're doing great work for
Thank
the
you.
kids in Macomb County. And
Larry, one of the things that we're doing out at Austin now is using Dave DeBuscher as sort of the leader to bring the alumni back in.
Yes, right.
And when you mentioned you had interviewed him at his home, one of the guys that Fred Sherry, Fred was Dave DeBuscher's best friend, lived right around the corner from him. And
has anyone stayed connected with Frank Chakowski?
I don't know.
Do you know that name?
I know the name.
Frank was the backcourt partner of Dave at U of D, and then he was the head basketball coach when I was at Austin. Frank Chakowski.
He went over to Grosse Pointe, didn't he?
I don't know where, but he was he had a DeBuscher connection, and he was a good basketball coach as well. And so, Bill, I was at Children's Hospital from 1987 to 1990. Worked with you and Bill Pinsky and Pat Wright on creating something with Robbie Buell as his career was starting to emerge as an Indy driver, and Racing for Kids was started. You remember starting it?
I remember that. I remember caring for kids and how we started that whole up with the little events.
You see our logo for the radio show, Caring for Kids. It's the same logo.
We used to have those functions over at Hiram Walker in Canada.
Right, exactly.
And that evolved into Bill Pinsky he was into racing, and he wanted to develop a racing program. And we took the Caring for Kids and flipped the C and the R and became Racing for Kids.
And your young daughter designed that.
And Lauren designed the logo for Racing for Kids. And
it's still going strong.
Still going strong. They do a great job. I think they've raised, I'm going to say $100 million for all.
They've raised a lot of money
for all the children's hospitals, every place the cars race.
Yep.
And they've done a phenomenal job.
So your legacy there continues. Your legacy at Austin continues. So that's great.
Yeah, and Pat Wright and Bill Pinsky really took it.
They did,
to the next level and beyond. And I understand Robbie now has a facility down on Michigan Avenue.
He does, and Ford Motor just bought the building from he and his brother. And we interviewed Robbie and Pat about 2 months ago. So they've done
a great job with that.
They said to say hello to you. I was with them last week. I was with Robbie last week. Said to say hello to you. So it's great seeing you. And if you want me to help out at Austin, I'll be happy to.
We definitely do, and
I'll be happy.
You're going to be one of the key guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Janel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delightful meeting you, and appreciate it. And I promise to get over there. And that's Bill Harrington from Genesis Marketing, which is a very creative firm in itself, and Janel Coppens, who is the head of school at Austin Catholic High School in Macomb County. Coming up next, we're going to hear from one of our great physicians at Children's Hospital. That's Dr. Justin Klein. He is a surgeon. He is the director of the Burn Center at Children's Hospital of Michigan. And all of that happens in a couple minutes when Caring for Kids continues here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR. Welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids. In the studio, we have Dr. Justin Klein. Dr. Klein is the director of the Burn Center at the Children's Hospital of Michigan and a leading surgeon there as well. He graduated with his medical degree from Wayne State University and completed his fellowships for trauma, burn, and pediatric surgery at the Children's Hospital of Michigan. He's board certified in both general and pediatric surgery, and I want to welcome Dr. Klein to Caring for Kids. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Larry.
Appreciate
Pleasure
it.
to be here.
I also want to thank you and your wife, Tanya, for being at our Derby for Kids event.
Well, thank you. It was a very, very nice event that you had, well planned out, and congratulations.
Yeah,
to your staff.
you guys looked great. The
you.
weather was perfect. The venue was awesome, and so I wanted to thank you. We had a lot of representation from the hospital. The CEO, Luann, was there. We had board members from the foundation. So all in all, it was a good day. So thanks. So on this show, we talk about children and we talk about the well-being of kids, and so we want to educate our listeners about your role at Children's Hospital, so that they have a chance to meet you and to hear what you do there.
Sure. So, as being a pediatric surgeon, we take care of only children. There's 6 of us in our group, and we are all board certified in general surgery, as well as have done the fellowship training specific for taking care of children.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of what we do, it's a broad spectrum. It's likened to the old school general surgeons. We'll do all the thoracic, the abdominal surgeries that kids need, as well as the lumps and bumps, hernias, the sort of bread and butter, if you will, of the specialty. As part of what we do as pediatric surgeons is also includes the trauma care, as well as the burn care, which is a little different in our institution, but we are a verified pediatric burn center, and we do have the pediatric surgeons as the primary people taking care of the injured burn children.
Okay, and is that somewhat rare or different than other children's hospitals?
It is different. There's a handful through the country that do have the pediatric surgeons that take care of the burn children, but for the most part, across the country, it's actually a lot of the adult surgeons, adult burn surgeons, or the plastic surgeons who are doing that burn care.
Yeah, great work. So we're talking with Justin Klein, who is the director of the Burn Center and one of the lead surgeons at Children's Hospital of Michigan. And so I know enough about pediatric surgery to know that it's a lot different operating on a little person, particularly a newborn, than it is a full-fledged adult. And that, what are the challenges that just the size of the individuals you operate on, that they provide you those challenges?
Yeah, you're right. It's really the extra training we do to be pediatric surgeons, fine-tunes your skills and really teaches you how to operate on those little tiny infants.
Mm-hmm.
And we get pretty good about honing our skills, but part of being at a dedicated children's hospital is really the ancillary support staff that we have, particularly in the operating room.
Right.
Dedicated pediatric anesthesiologists, child life support, the nurses, from the pre-op recovery, the floor, and the ICU care that is available to us is really an invaluable experience.
Yeah, and then after that, the child life people, as the patients recover, particularly if they're adolescents or
correct,
used to going to school or something. And as I mentioned, we're talking with Dr. Justin Klein from Children's Hospital of Michigan, and so this passion that you have for medicine, and I know I spent 26 years at a medical school in Toledo and helped recruit a lot of students and was involved in a lot of residency programs and that as an administrator. And I love to hear the story of when your interest started to develop to be a physician, and then specifically to deal with these youngsters that are so severely burned. When did that occur to you?
Well, I guess when I went to undergraduate school, when I started out in North Dakota, I was going to be an engineer.
Okay.
And I realized that I was spending as much time studying for calculus as everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, let's do something different.
Right.
So I went into...
That's how I got into marketing, by the way. And it was more like regular math. And I said, well, I better go to something else.
Absolutely. So there's something for us all. So
Yes.
I headed towards the medical specialties. And I think the more driving force was my father had a heart attack at a pretty young age and needed surgery for that, needed a coronary bypass.
Okay.
And when I went to medical school, my intention was to be a cardiac surgeon.
Okay.
And I got exposure to the pediatric surgery world during my general surgery training as we rotate through the Children's Hospital in Michigan. And I saw really firsthand what the pediatric surgeons do and what it all entails. And that was my changing moment that said, I need to be a pediatric surgeon.
So it was looking at others and trying to maybe be the next generation of those folks.
Absolutely.
So when I was at Children's from 87 to 90, there were some iconic named surgeons there. Arvin Philippart was nationally, or if not internationally, known. Eduardo Arcenegas was a heart doctor that was, I mean, these were people maybe a generation older than me, but they really helped put Children's on the map at that point, and now we have people like you that are continuing that legacy. So we're lucky to have you. You're also a tumor surgeon, and that's something I'm not familiar with. So can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. As part of pediatric surgeons, as I likened to before, we operate on the sort of gamut of pediatric surgical diseases. Of course, unfortunately, tumors are also a decent part of that experience as well. So all the pediatric surgeons do cancer surgery as well. I happen to be the Children's Oncology Group representative, so it includes attending some of the meetings and bringing back that information. But we do have the cancer surgery as a big part of what we do, and have it's a not uncommon incident, unfortunately,
in kids. But I think many of those tumors can be operated on, and kids can go on to a healthy life.
Yes, fortunately, we've made some great strides in the pediatric oncology world. I should say mainly the surgeons as well as the medical oncologists, but a lot of them have favorable outcomes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great news, and that's a good lead into talking about your interest in research. I often say to people, either on this radio show or wherever I can, that what makes Children's Hospital of Michigan so special is the physicians, not only their ability to care for patients like yourself, and the nurses and the staff, but also the physicians' interest in research. And in many cases, I've been told that the reason you're at a children's hospital versus a community-based hospital is because of your ability to do research. And so is that true with you, and what are your research interests?
It is. So my research interest kind of started when I spent a couple years in Boston at the Children's Hospital there during my general surgery training, and really showed the need and the effect of coming out with new technologies or establishing patterns of care. And that's carried back our division through also generous support from the foundation. Has some projects that we work on, a lot of injury prevention, as well as just understanding the disease process to define the care that we're giving, help us demonstrate best practice, and allows us to be on the forefront of delivering that care and spreading that out to the community or through the country.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about translational research, meaning to the layperson like me is that it's a faster track to doing research and then actually implementing or helping patients with that research versus bench research, which is much needed, but it usually is longer. And so I think that's one of the things the foundation loves to support, that kind of research, and will continue to do that and support you. And I also mentioned your wife Tanya a few minutes ago, and we now have a new relationship with her and an organization that she's starting that she has tremendous passion for, and we're going to have her on the show in the coming months. But I have to ask you to tell our listeners on behalf of your bride a little bit about what she hopes to do.
Sure. So she's been interested in wanting to start a charity, a foundation, long before even I was the burn director, but it does coincide that her passion is helping the burned children, provide them with resources and getting them back on their feet, and some of the care that they need that isn't always as readily available through the medical system. So she started the Healing Kids Foundation, which is supported generously through the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation, and plans to have an event later this year as their inaugural event to roll it out and start.
Yeah, we're looking forward to working with her, Jill Nelson. the producer of this radio show, is going to work with her and her team, and she's got a logo and developing a website. So we're all in. So we're looking forward to working with her and looking forward to interviewing her as well. And so I want to thank you for all you do, Dr. Klein, and we are very fortunate that people like you are part of Children's Hospital of Michigan, and parents and grandparents listening to the show, they now know who you are if they didn't before, and they're in good hands if their children need your help.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep, look forward to working with you and supporting you through the foundation. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Detroit Red Wings and the partnership that we have with the Red Wing Foundation when Caring for Kids returns. So don't go anywhere. Kevin Brown is the Director of Community Relations for the Detroit Red Wings. He is an integral part of the Red Wings' strategic efforts to innovatively elevate Metro Detroit communities through the power of hockey. Kevin also manages the Detroit Red Wings Foundation's efforts to raise funds and awareness in support of opportunities to provide local youth more access to the sport of hockey throughout the region. Kevin received his Bachelor of Science in Marketing from the University of South Florida. Kevin, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Well, thank you for having me, Larry. I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, and how did you get through the winter coming from Florida?
Well, I'll tell you, it took a feat of strength to get through it.
Yeah,
but
it was a long one. Yeah, it was a long one, and now it seems to be summer, so I'm okay. I'm not complaining at all.
All of a sudden, how quickly it kind of transitions here in Michigan from one to the other.
Right. So tell our listeners, we have a lot of, as you know, because you probably get it every day, we have a lot of people who are really interested in a career path for someone like you and how you ended up where you are. And so if you could tell our listeners a little bit about your career path and how you ended up with the Wings and where we are today.
Sure. So I started my career in professional sports in 2006 in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers. So the NFL was my first calling, and worked my way up through the corporate ladder there and helped manage their community outreach and foundation efforts, and really helped to grow their support of the community there in Tampa Bay. And 9 years later, a call came from the Red Wings to explore an opportunity here in Detroit, and it just made perfect sense to come up to a city like Detroit that is experiencing such a wonderful rebirth.
Right.
And the Illich family being so much a part of that has been absolutely phenomenal. So, for myself, I always tell folks that want to get into the sports industry that it's all about making yourself available and getting to know the folks who might know folks in the industry.
Right.
It's all about that networking, and we always talk about networking as an opportunity, but it truly does make a difference. When you work in the industry, as long as I've been in it, you get to know folks all throughout, not just in football or hockey, but in soccer and baseball and basketball, and it's all an interesting, tightly knit network of individuals.
We're talking with Kevin Brown, who's Director of Community Relations and the Detroit Red Wings Foundation, talking about his career path. So you've basically had 2 stops so far with the Buccaneers and then the Red Wings.
I have.
Which is great. And I spent some time working very closely with the folks at Learfield, which is a sports asset management organization, as you know, and they're about, I think, to merge with IMG. And I met a lot of people through those initiatives that graduated from Ohio U sports program, and that's sort of a well-known program. And in South Florida, what was your major?
So my major was marketing.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I tell folks all the time. You're going to hear I say folks a lot.
Yeah, that's okay.
I tell folks all the time that you don't have to have a degree in sports marketing. Your degree can be in communications or marketing or business admin. It's really about working toward your goal to be in the industry and how hard you want to work to be.
Yeah, that is so true. And all the people that are in your business that are successful, it's hard work, it's willingness sometimes to move around. And to move from places like Florida to Detroit and for the right opportunity. So that's great advice. And so last time I saw you, I think we were together for the unveiling ribbon cutting of what we now know as AL.
We were.
The great playscape at Children's Hospital of Michigan, and that's something that our listeners need to know about. So if you don't mind telling them about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a fantastic relationship between the Detroit Red Wings and Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation that was built many years ago in order to help kids in our community thrive. And so a couple of weeks ago, we were able to take something that was just a simple imagination of what could be and turn it into reality with the Red Wings play zone out at the Children's Hospital of Michigan. And what it has become is staggering. You have an 8-foot tall Al the Octopus
Right.
that is completely interactive for kids of any ability, and for us to be able to give back to the community in ways like that, where you allow a kid to just be a kid for a few moments, or allow a family to spend some time together when all they're kind of thinking about is health and
treatments and what's
exactly
next.
Right.
I was just there last week, and I said it was a nice day, and I popped my head out to see, and there was kids playing on it, and they were patients. They were sort of between appointments, and they had a big smile on their face, and I went and took a picture and posted that. So even though it's only been up and running for a few weeks, it's already being used every day. So.
Yeah, and we
awesome.
hear the great stories from Elise Bennett there at the hospital, who has been emailing us about the kids and their unique stories and how this playground has really helped usher them through what is otherwise a pretty tough time in their life.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot bigger than I thought. So when we cut the ribbon, it's pretty sizable, the whole thing, and so it's more than just Al. It's this whole playground, if you will, which is very special.
It is. It's 1,700 square feet of play for kids.
And a very soft ground, so if you fall, then you're not going to hurt yourself. So tell the listeners about our partnership between the foundation and the Red Wing Foundation and the Wish Club, and because they your fans play a big part in making what we were just talking about possible.
They do. Our fans in Hockeytown are out of this world. We are so lucky as an organization to have the Red Wings fans support every single day, and programs like the Wish Club, which has been a partnership between the Red Wings and Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation since 1995, have helped raise more than $400,000 to go back into our community and support great projects like the Red Wings Play Zone. And for those who don't know what the program is, the Wish Club is the initiative that you see on the screen every game when someone wants to announce that they are getting married, or that they're just at the arena and they want to make sure that folks know that they're there. And so... Well,
now the jumbo screen is a really big way of doing that.
It is, and Little Caesars Arena has provided us with such amazing tools to help the community, and this program with the Wish Club, our fans are providing a small donation in order to have their name or their message on the screen, and what they're learning now through seeing the build of the Red Wings Play Zone and other programs that we're going to be announcing in the coming months is that all of those dollars are going back into the community to help kids.
Right. And so we're talking with Kevin Brown, Director of Community Relations and oversees the Detroit Red Wings Foundation. And we've talked about his career path. We've talked about the partnership with the hospital as well as with the foundation. And that's a great partnership, all three of those. But I want our listeners to know a bit more of what the Red Wing Foundation does for the community, and because it's an all-year-round activity. It's not about just the hockey season. So they need to know about that. So if you don't mind taking a couple minutes with that.
It sure is. We sometimes in this industry get caught up in wins and losses.
Right.
And the reality is that Hockeytown is so much bigger than the game. It's about impacting communities through the power of hockey, and it's about celebrating unity on and off the ice. It's about lifting our neighbors in times of need. Our fans, as I said earlier, are some of the best in sports, and they just get it. They understand that when there's a call out there for supporting individuals with cancer or celebrating our servicemen and women, our fans just get it. They understand it, and that's why we say that Hockeytown is bigger than the game.
Right, absolutely.
It's so much about how Hockeytown cares, and the kind of the undisputed grit resilience and grace that this fan base embodies. And so, on our end as an organization, we're committed to supporting not just the city of Detroit, but Michigan as well as parts of Canada and Ohio.
Right. Toledo, I think, was, when I was in Toledo for so long, it was either the second or third biggest market, I think, of Red Wing fans.
Yeah, and we're this region's team. So, for us, we take pride in supporting individuals all throughout this region and making sure that they know that their National Hockey League team, the Detroit Red Wings, are there in their corner every day to champion and support their efforts.
Yeah, so the Detroit Red Wings and the Ilitch family and all the things that go with that mean so much to this community. I grew up here and been a Red Wing fan for my whole life, and now to be able to work with people like you and Tom Wilson and Rob Kroll and Kerry Gallagher, and these are all friends of mine as well as partners in what we're doing, is a real treat for me, and we appreciate what you do for the hospital, what you do for the foundation, and what you do for the community.
And I appreciate you saying that. On our end here, the work with partners like Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation just help us amplify even larger what we're trying to accomplish here in the community. And so, valuable partners like you and others are helping us continue that legacy of the Ilitches to give back in so many ways to the city that gave back to Mike when he was launching his business.
Right. And so, and just a couple weeks ago, we found out a little bit more of what the district is truly going to evolve into, and how exciting is that? They're just getting started with the arena. I mean, that's great, but there's a lot of other cool things on the drawing board.
It sure is. It in many ways is cementing our organization's place in the city, and as we grow as an organization, and we see championships in our new arena and what comes of the District Detroit, it is very much an exciting time to be here in the city.
Yeah, great. So, Kevin Brown, thank you very much. He's Director of Community Relations for the Detroit Red Wings, as well as oversees the great foundation of the Red Wings, and a wonderful partner of our foundation. So thank you. That was a great show. Thanks for listening, everybody. And I talk so much, I'm out of time. So we'll see you next time on Caring for Kids, Indeed.
Caring for Kids on WJR has been presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation.